It's not just about the recipe. It's about how to cook, plan a meal, throw a party. I'm Vickie, and this is Meals and Entertaining for Regular People. Hi, so today I would like to talk about seasoning your food and some spices. People ask me, how do I know what to season and how to season? So I thought I'd talk about a couple different things. Think about seasoning as a way of creating one flavor. So for example, all these different things go in to create spaghetti sauce, and you taste it and go, that's spaghetti sauce. But sometimes you cook and you have them individual. You want to get all the individual flavors. So there's different ways of seasoning things as a whole, or you want to keep the flavors individually. So that's something to think about. I'll talk about the stuff that I couldn't live without, the seasonings, and the fresh herbs. I have here shown parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. What's
Sageroe?
What do you mean? Sageroe?
Well, that song.
What?
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme?
No,
Sageroe?
No, honey. It's parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme. Good one, though.
Oh.
How long have you thought that?
30 years.
So, bay leaf also. So these are all fresh from my yard. I'm lucky enough that I have little pots outside, so I can go outside and grab this. This is my most common thing, plus basil. I just didn't run outside and cut parts off the basil plant. And that's really a delicate plant, so we can't, I didn't even bring any in here. But those things I get to keep fresh and cook with fresh. If you're going to use dried, think about the fact that you use a little less with dry because the flavor's more intense. Of course, fresh is always perfect, but it's not, everybody can't do that all the time. And think about adding. So if you need to put parsley, sprinkle on something parsley on the end and use dry, it won't have time to rehydrate, so it'll be little crunchy things. So, seasoning is supposed to enhance your food, not overpower your food. And sometimes you use it to adjust the balance. So for example, I saw something on Facebook the other day and they talked about who put sugar in their spaghetti sauce. It's actually a common thing to do a pinch, just a pinch of sugar, and it takes some of the acid away. And then you always use a pinch of salt in something sweet, just a pinch. So when I'm doing my whipped cream, because it makes it taste sweeter, so you use a pinch of salt when I'm making whipped cream or things like that don't actually ask for salt. So that's kind of balancing the flavor, enhancing it. I saw on Ina Garden, she puts cocoa or coffee espresso powder, like the instant coffee, in all her chocolate, and it enhances it. You can't taste it, so I do it with all my chocolate cakes. I just put a little bit of it in there. So here's what I can't live without, and then I'll go into cooking for cuisines or seasoning for cuisines. I can't live without Lowry seasoned salt. So I had an executive chef at my house that had 5 restaurants, and I asked him, what's the one thing that you can't live without in your cooking? And he said Lowry seasoned salt. So I went, okay. So I use it on, it's really good on potatoes. So that would be my main thing. I do have some garlic salt, super salty. So I use just a pinch of it on tomatoes, and I use it on when I'm making guacamole. Delicious. So use a little bit of this, use a little bit of lemon or lime, and a little pinch of salsa, good guacamole. But very sparingly, be afraid of this. I use crushed red pepper in almost anything that I'm cooking on the stove, and just a pinch of it, because when you put it on early on, it intensifies the flavor when it reaches the heat. Whereas you see people pouring this liberally on a pizza, it's completely different when you put it in for a soup in the beginning. But what you need in cooking is you need a little pinch of a bite. Not enough to make it too spicy, but just something that adds a little interest to what you're cooking. Years ago, I like a little bit of spice besides that. Sometimes in things like if I'm making butternut squash, I cut up the butternut squash, then I coat it with oil, and then I put in something called Cajun seasoning. And I long ago couldn't find this anymore. So I read the label and I recreate it. So I put it all in a bowl. I invent how many. And so I'm looking here to tell you what's in this. It has paprika, dried onion, dried garlic, black pepper, lemon peel, chili pepper, allspice. Think about allspice, that little clovey type flavor. But allspice is an actual spice. It's not a bunch of spices. Thyme, cloves, there it is. Mace, God knows what that is. Red pepper, that would be this ground. And a little bay leaf ground up. So, this, with the paprika and the garlic, you see it's not going to be so overpowering, but it adds a little pinch of interest. So with my butternut squash, I actually add this, and I add a little bit of cinnamon. Now the same, I know I'm a weirdo, but the same thing happened to me with this thing called Cinnamon Plus. So I just don't want cinnamon, so I recreate this too. Cinnamon, nutmeg, allspice, ground orange peel, and I actually found that at Walmart, do you believe it? And then cloves and ginger. So I put just a pinch of this when I want to add, that interest spicy. Spicy doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be hot. Spicy means you could taste all these interesting herbs. So I make those two, but you can see the direction I'm going in. Then, of course, we have poultry seasoning, which is all blended up for us. So poultry seasoning is Thanksgiving taste. If you had to pick something, Thanksgiving or Christmas, is what poultry seasoning tastes like, because it's in stuffing, it's on our potatoes, you can taste it in our gravies. And so poultry seasoning, generally that's just what I use it for, is chicken, things like that. And it has thyme, sage, marjoram. Once again, what the hell is that? What the heck is marjoram? I don't even have it. Rosemary, black pepper, and nutmeg. I'm not a huge nutmeg fan, but that's the taste you get in like a bechamel sauce. You taste heavy nutmeg if you're drinking, what's that Christmas drink that you guys all love?
Would that be an Tom and Jerry?
No. Nutmeg is the primary flavor that you taste, and it's milky, and it's got some alcohol. Eggnog!
Oh.
What's eggnog taste like? That's what nutmeg tastes like. I have fancy sea salt, and this one is fleur de sel. So there's different kinds, and there's Himalayan and all this fancy stuff, but I read which one, if I want an all-purpose one, this was the one to buy. Then we have paprika. I love paprika because it makes everything look pretty, if you've watched my earlier episodes, but you actually do use it in a lot of stuff. So if I was doing a fried potato, making a really good fried potato, I want that color. And so that's what I add a little paprika for. Now smoked paprika is that barbecue flavor, and I don't need that, so I have it, but I don't keep that as my must-have. My herb de Provence tastes like French cooking. So this is, if you smell this, and it smells almost like a potpourri thing that you put in your underwear drawer. And so this has thyme, basil, savory, what's that? Fennel seeds, and lavender flowers. So it really smells like lavender, but it's really good in food, more in French cooking. It's all dried, so you need to put it in when it's cooking. So if you were gonna make a steak, you can't lose with Montreal Steak. And this is actually the name of the blend of it that was created, I think, in Montreal, some steakhouse. So this is a good all-purpose thing that's nice to have when you're in a hurry. Then cooking fish, you just buy Old Bay. You don't know why, you just use Old Bay on fish. I don't know what else they use it for. And then I always use a pinch of hot sauce. I think some cayenne peppers are just so hot. They're just hot for the sake of being hot. I want a little bit of flavor with it. So if I have to use 2 things of hot sauce, for example, I make a beautiful corn casserole. It has 3 glugs of hot sauce in it. You'd never know. But that's how they wanted me to add that little pinch of fun in there. That you don't taste it, it doesn't taste bad. You also add sugar to it. So see, you're balancing and creating some fun stuff. So this is love. This is cooking with love. Ingredients is faithfulness, gentleness, goodness, joy, kindness, patience, peace, perseverance, protection, trust, truthfulness, and unselfishness. Unfortunately, I found it jammed in the back of the cupboard. I used to keep it out. So when my husband says something tastes good, we go, of course, it was cooked with love. No, I don't know where you can find this. I didn't mention salt, pepper, and I use garlic powder a lot, unless I'm using fresh garlic. So salt, pepper, seasoned salt. And I put it in this beautiful tower, which was discontinued by Tupperware 30 years ago. So this is my spice tower. It's easy. I put, by the color. Kind of stupid. So a little thing to do is to start thinking about when you're eating foods and you really like it, finding out what it is that's in there. For example, you go to a restaurant and you get this bread and it is so good. Oh my gosh, what is the seasoning in this bread? And they're going to say, it's rosemary. And then you go, oh, I like rosemary. Maybe next time I'm making potatoes, roasting some potatoes, I'll use a little rosemary. That you might really like a flavor that's in, let's say, rye bread, caraway seeds. So that's the same little seed that's in some Italian sausage. So that's what that tastes like. So if you ever wanted to grind up some caraway seeds in something, you'll know you like that flavor. So pay attention if you like something that's real timey. You might really like a soup, but soup has some thyme in it, generally. Mushroom soup, for example. So pay attention to that and then start experimenting with a few of those things. Now, as far as different cuisines go, you can take, so I'd like you to take some tomatoes. So you take some tomatoes and you add a little fresh onion and you add a little garlic to it. So right there, we can go in two directions. We can add cilantro, God forbid, I hate cilantro. But you can add jalapeno peppers and you can add some lime juice and now you have salsa. Or you could add basil, some nice salt, and some olive oil, and now you have a bruschetta. So it's like a piano, has all these notes, and depending on how you blend the notes, you get a different song. So that's how seasoning some things are. And most, all across the world, we're using the same ingredients. There's a lot of exotic stuff in the Asian countries that we don't have access to here or we don't know about. And there are the most beautiful spices in the world in the Middle Eastern countries. But basically, we're all doing something. It's a dumpling with these guys. It could be a pierogi with these guys. And it could be raviolis with these guys. So we're using the same ingredients. It's just how you blend them. So I shared something on my Facebook that I found. And it said, Italian food generally uses these spices. So they're big on oregano, but so in Mexican cooking too, or any Latin cooking, big on oregano. Then we have an Italian basil. You don't really use basil in Mexican food, but you really use it in Thai food. So see, you just got to kind of see what it is you like to taste, and in what cuisine, when you're doing a recipe, you'll kind of figure that out. So in seasoning things, there's no shame in opening a package. So for example, I make the best chicken tortilla soup I've ever tasted with the Lazy Dog Cafe coming in a close second. So I season it, I get my flavor from a package. So this is chicken fajita mix, but it just has the perfect amount of smokiness. I'm not gonna buy all these things. This is what my spice cupboard looks like. Ask a lot, how do I know how to season vegetables? Once again, you pay attention to the things that you like. But generally, some of the fresher herbs taste good on it. And so we use dill. We use dill with some sauces. You could use tarragon, which I love. Tarragon, love it, but I can't find it to grow it anywhere. And don't be afraid to put some herbs in your salad when you're making a salad, like putting some fresh basil in. So that's kind of what I use. Just the lighter herbs go with the vegetables, but start paying attention to what flavors you really like and then doing that when you have a really nice fresh vegetable when you go out somewhere. Ask them what they put on it. Another thing that we try and achieve when we're seasoning something is like we want to enhance or we want to balance something. Balancing, if we have something that's cooked super with a lot of oil, we want to cut it with a little acid. So that would be a little vinegar. So making maybe some Brussels sprouts. You're cooking in oil, a little vinegar tastes just amazing with it, or some lemon. So we make asparagus, and then basically we season with salt and pepper, and we put some lemon on it. It's perfect. So we're counterbalancing the oil or the butter that we cooked it in. And so those are things that you want to think about too. That's all part of seasoning something. So I hope you learned something today and are motivated to go buy some spices. Something fun, pay attention to what you like, buy it, and if you can, always use a fresh herb. So I'm so excited for you. Go out and have fun. Bye. Thanks for watching. Please visit my website, mealsandentertaining.com, and see my available ebooks. Plus, subscribe to my channels, and don't forget to follow me, like me, or love me.